Hi everyone, this is Paul here for the Magdalene Centre. Today I'm doing an astrology report for the week commencing the 8th of May and about knowing some of the key aspects and transits taking place this week and giving an overview of what it all means. Before I do that, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that astrology doesn't control our lives. It gives us a framework to help us understand what's unfolding around us so we can then recognise where the opportunities for growth are and what the best course of action is. But it requires that we participate in the process. It's not something that happens passively and makes things happen either way. It's something that we have to consciously work with in order to maximise the kind of growth we can obtain from it. If we do and we utilise wisdom to make sure our actions are carefully thought out and not just done impulsively, then we can achieve a lot of growth by going with the natural flow of events. Now, in terms of the astrology this week, I'll begin with the moon's transit as usual. So the moon is going through a waxing phase at the moment. It's more about the growth side or the development of new projects, but she starts in Gemini. So with Gemini, this is a time of kind of working on communication, so focusing on listening and speaking, and also doing research to get information together for whatever projects we happen to be working on at the moment. But on the same day itself, a Wednesday, she'll enter her home sign of Cancer. So this is a time where we may feel that desire to kind of turn inward a bit and to spend more time at home, or just spend time kind of nurturing ourselves and getting in touch with our emotions. Before on Friday she enters Leo. This is a good time for focusing on shining, so whatever kind of creativity that's been bubbling away, we feel that we may have a sudden urge to express it, to tap into it and to shine our light more and seek to be our authentic selves. On Sunday she enters Virgo. This is a time for kind of taking that creative energy and honing it into service, so recognising the value of hard work. And it's also about establishing the kind of order in our day-to-day lives that boosts our physical and mental health, because that's an area that Virgo deals with. So it's creating that order and that practical routine that gives our lives structure and helps to boost our physical and mental well-being. Before on Tuesday she enters Libra, and this is a good time for kind of working on building bridges with one another, seeking out connection with friends and or acquaintances, and it's a time for focusing on that diplomacy and tact in the way we deal with people, because quite often if we seek things or seek to build bridges and do things with a spirit of harmony and cooperation in mind, things tend to move a lot more easily because there's a lot less conflict between egos. Now, in terms of the rest of the aspects this week, the first one is a conjunction between Mercury and Uranus in Taurus. So these two are both related to the mind, but Mercury is kind of like the lower mind. It's an aspect of the mind that deals with the day-to-day reality, so it's our thinking, our communication, so our speech, but it's also about our perceptions and how we gather the information together. Uranus, on the other hand, is the higher mind. It's the part of us that's connected with everything else. It's that connection to the collective unconscious, if you like. And Uranus is all about trying to awaken us to this level of reality, this level of consciousness. But often we experience this as disruption if we're afraid of change, or if we're reluctant to embrace concepts that would dramatically change the kind of status quo that we're used to, or prompt us to do things that involve facing the unknown. But this, in some respects, this conjunction between Mercury and Uranus is a bit like the equivalent of a new moon. It's the beginning of a new cycle between the two of them, and it's an opportunity for us to bring the lower and higher minds into alignment with one another. I mean, in the natural zodiac, where you look at Mercury's the natural rule of Gemini and Uranus the natural rule of Aquarius, these two actually have a strong affinity already. The two signs are trying to one another, but they operate at different levels of reality, for like different levels of being, and the challenge is to open up the lower mind, the rational minds, to insights that may seem illogical to human reasoning, but actually far closer to the truth than our current level of perceptions. It's that willingness to change our minds, to change our point of view, or to be open to new insights that we haven't thought of before. With this all taking place in Taurus, it's also about being open to new values that we haven't thought of, but are more have a more humanitarian emphasis on them rather than just materialistic. So this could be a case of seeking to liberate the mind from the kind of values that we're told that we should buy into by society, and instead question them and see how can we embrace values that celebrate the kind of diversity or the unity of people, as opposed to focusing on separation or focusing on in bigging ourselves up at the expense of other people. It's moving to a level of awareness where we see ourselves as all part of one community, if you like, albeit one that's got a lot of different perspectives in it and a lot with different dysfunction, but we won't go into any more detail on that. But we are all part of humanity, and it's seeking to push our level of thinking beyond closed-mindedness to open-mindedness and the willing to see our common humanity rather than focusing on what makes us different, if you like. Now, in terms of the other aspects, there's a few on Thursday itself. So we have the Sun sextile to Neptune. So this aspect gives us an opportunity to kind of open up to the more spiritual side of ourselves, or to recognise our true spiritual nature, if you like. Neptune in Pisces is very strong, being in his home sign, and this is kind of connecting us with the right brain intuition, or the psychic senses, and the, I guess, the immaterial or the spiritual elements of everything. So it's also about recognising that spirit and matter are both parts of both forms of consciousness, are both part of the same thing. They're not separate or go against one another. They can work together very well. And with the Sun sextile to Neptune, it's about being open to this level of perception, open to the intangibles of life, and seeking to feel that kind of energy, to feel unconditional love and compassion, and to learn to incorporate the intuitive faculties into our own mind. And it's about being open to situations which may seem strange, as it were, but still show us a different side of the truth that we haven't seen before. And it's also about learning to surrender. Neptune in Pisces is also about dissolving attachments. So if we recognise that we have attachments to material things, or our current level of understanding is very shallow, the Neptune Sun aspect gives us an opportunity to kind of dissolve some of these attachments and free our minds up from the attachments that lead us to suffering, when whatever we're basing our sense of well-being on suddenly disappears for whatever reason. On the same day, Venus is going to be forming aspects of both Jupiter and Pluto. There'll be a trine to Jupiter, so this is it's generally seen as a very positive aspect. Venus is all about love, it's about our values and seeking connection with one another, and Jupiter is all about that, expanding the mind to its full limits and to seek to see the world as it is. It's also, Jupiter is about connecting with grace through opening up to a higher level of wisdom, of recognising the natural laws at play and seeking to align with them, so that we're no longer fighting against the current or trying to make things happen outside of natural timing. We try and do it at the right time. So with Jupiter's expansive energy touching Venus, or in aspects in Venus, it's about expanding our capacity to love. And Venus also deals with our self-worth, so it's about tapping into that expansive and optimistic energy and seeking to, I guess, connect with more optimism in life, or to value pursuits that expand our understanding, expand our learning, and also about moving to broad-mindedness rather than narrow-mindedness. It's about seeking to achieve higher levels of awareness and higher levels of love. It's expanding our capacity to love, expanding our ability to tolerate the differences between ourselves and people from different backgrounds, and seeking to recognise that there are certain common values or certain common traits that, if we move past just our local conditioning, if you like, and see things from an expanded perspective, we recognise that we actually have a lot more in common with one another than we realise. And if we can open our minds to this fact, then there's so much conflict that could be avoided, and there's so much more harmony and peace that we could achieve in our lives. But obviously it requires that we do the work on the inside first to open the mind to that level of reality, rather than expecting other people to do it and being judgmental or hypocritical in the process. As I mentioned, she's also squaring Pluto on this day, so Pluto square to Venus it's an opportunity for us to transform the values, to recognise where the values that we may hold at the moment do not support our current level of growth, and to cling to values, especially materialistic ones, where we mistakenly believe that to feel like we're worth anything we have to have stuff. It's moving beyond that materialistic perspective and recognising that we don't need that. Our value is not determined by what we have. We're all inherently worth love and belonging as it is. We were all born worthy of love and belonging. So that's Venus square Pluto is an opportunity to break the attachments, recognise the materialistic drives that we may have internalised, and to shed them. On Saturday, the Sun will be trine to Saturn retrograde, so we'll feel this aspect building over the course of the week, but this may be the first opportunity that we start to see or really sense the effect of Saturn retrograde kicking in. So, because when Saturn turned retrograde, Saturn was out of aspect with the Sun, so there wasn't any direct connection with the sense of self, if you like. Now that we're getting the first trine and connecting with Saturn retrograde, it's an opportunity to work on incorporating discipline, patience and self-control into who we are, as a means to avoid creating karma for ourselves, because Saturn is all about learning the wise use of free will, and through the law of karma, showing us the effects of different actions, and showing that if we don't want to create karma for ourselves, we have to take responsibility for the actions that we take. So this is a great opportunity for us to incorporate more discipline, patience and perseverance, and it's the capacity to resist temptation for immediate gratification, and instead delay that gratification for a greater reward down the line, in terms of greater self-respect, for the capacity to avoid distraction and focus on what's truly meaningful for ourselves. On Monday, the Sun will be in conjunct Jupiter, so this gives us an opportunity to look at, when we're in terms of who we are we, or our sense of self, what do we believe about ourselves? What is our current level of understanding or perception of who we are? And is our perception of ourselves, or the beliefs that we hold, are they life affirming or life destroying? Because if we have negative beliefs, then beliefs have a major impact on how we see reality and our perception of ourselves. So whenever the Sun's aspect in Jupiter, it gives us an opportunity to develop more faith in ourselves, to develop more faith in the capacity to achieve big goals, if you like. But it's also seeking to embody more optimism, faith and I guess generosity of spirit. So if we're prepared to do this, this also gives us an opportunity to develop more self-understanding and to recognise where certain beliefs lead us to courses of action which aren't right for who we are, or courses of action based on fear as opposed to faith. And the last aspect this week is the Sun to be trine to Pluto. So this again is an opportunity to transform our sense of who we are, to face our own shadow side and achieve a greater degree of wholeness through recognising where we seek control over other people, or where our sense of power is based on external substitutes, as opposed to the true power which lies at the core of who we are. And to connect with it, we have to strip away the layers of illusion, strip away the layers of ego that stop us from connecting with that true power. Because we know, in some sort, we know when we're connected with this sort of power, because when we're empowering ourselves, we also seek to empower other people. It's a very transpersonal energy, Pluto, and it can only be really be harnessed if we're using it to help not just ourselves but other people. It's there for a collective purpose, not just personal, and it's not the kind of energy that we can control. We can learn to respect it, we can learn to embrace it and use it to transform ourselves through shedding the shadow and healing any core issues around this, our relationship with power. And through this we can then empower ourselves and become the most authentic selves we can be, and we can also radiate that kind of empowering energy, so have it pouring through us so that the people immediately around us benefit from that by virtue of being in our presence. And if we have certain tools that we can share that will help someone empower themselves further, then this is also about learning to share what we have rather than hold on to it or cling to it or hoard it, and instead learn to share what we have and recognise that if we empower ourselves and seek to empower other people, everyone benefits. So there's quite a bit going on this week, but the main changes are to a sense of values and relationships. There's a key opportunity for us to transform our mind through opening the lower mind up to higher levels of understanding, and to move beyond the need to think that we're more special or superior to anyone else. It's having that humility to recognise that actually at the deepest levels of truth we're all interconnected, we're all part of a collective consciousness. So we have a responsibility as individuals to seek to be the best versions of ourselves we can possibly be, to radiate our own light by being authentic, loving and honest. And through doing this, the collective naturally benefits. It's not seeking to change the collective through affecting things externally. When we create that change on the inside and empower ourselves to radiate love, truth and compassion to other people, the world benefits by virtue of us doing that work. And it's also time for transforming a sense of self through embracing or empowering our beliefs so that they nurture us rather than destroy us or keep us playing small. So it's having that belief in ourselves that we have the capacity to make the changes we know are the correct ones to be making. Also at the same time shedding attachments that keep us playing small or keep us obsessing over the past or keep us out of the present moment. It's about coming into the present moment, which is the only thing that really exists, and seeking to live there as much as possible, because it's in the present moment that attachments based on the past start dissolving, because they're only based on the past or constantly looking to the future. They don't exist in the present moment. So we can seek to be present in our lives, to slow down and seek to go with the natural flow and recognise when we're going too fast and slow it down so that we can enjoy the process of growth and connect with the natural energies, connect with the natural flow. Then we achieve growth with a lot less effort, because we're no longer fighting against the flow or seeking to avoid the present moment. By being present, everything comes alive, as it were. Everything feels more vital, more empowering, more, I guess, awe-inspiring or joyful. And if we can learn to achieve this through shedding the old, transforming the mind through opening it to new ways of seeing things, and transforming our values so that it's based on who we really are and not what we've been conditioned by, then we can achieve so much empowerment and transformation in our lives. So may this week bring you many new insights and many blessings. Take care.